Thunder.
Noise cancellation.
Ja,
very
ja,
calming
ja,
for
ja,
me.
ja, ja, ja. Thunder. Ba, ba, ba,
We
ba,
are live
ba.
right now.
Okay,
Hi,
I
everyone.
know. Hi, welcome to DevKami 191, which is a prime number.
Yes.
Wait. It's, it's a prime number. So, 191. My name is Swimming. I love ACDC.
Tristan, I don't know about ACDC.
Yep.
Well, there's
The one-
Thunder
the-
in my case.
Yeah.
Or
Thunderstruck.
you actually have people flapping the steel sheets behind.
Yeah, probably. Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, Shi Leong is here. So, what
As usual, I
happened for
complain
the
about the air pollution.
Yes, and Fahmi Reza actually had a very cool, I would say graffiti, I would call it artwork just because.
I'm not shitting you guys. Like for those that often hear me complain about the air, is that this is my reading right now.
Yes.
The VOC formaldehyde and also 2.5 is not so healthy, still acceptable.
So okay, I'm going to share this because it's public. It's activism, y'all.
Y'all.
Yep. Okay, so let's start with this first. So you'll notice that Fahmi Reza actually did artwork about the Haze is coming. Jerobu is Haze. Then
he did a
covered
freehand.
over. Yeah,
The one
which is damn impressive.
The one that impressed me is that he did a freehand.
But the real impressive thing is, if you look closer, one of the things you will see is that it did not cover fully. It's more like a bit hazy. Ta-da! It feels like this is the whole point. So the whole point, the whole thing is to talk about Malaysian companies investing in
something tragic is happening on this side.
Yeah, investing in plantations. So the plantation that burn the stuff is invested in Malaysian companies. So this is actually a protest to those companies, and it's the government do not take any action on those companies. And this actually shows the point, because if you look at in the link that you see, it draw and it's covered over. It feels like, okay, I do not know whether it's intention, but it feels like a double entendre in a way that it's hazy because the haze cover up the warning and etc. So, which I think is actually very cool as artwork. With that said, let's start.
What does Jerobu mean?
Jerobu
is haze.
Haze, like fog or.
In this case, it's more like smog, but we are using it in context of haze nowadays. So let's start with next week. It's PyCon Malaysia, of course, but we won't be there because I don't think I'm buying the ticket. I forgot. Actually,
where's the IO Foundation by John on 12? You shared it on. Yeah, it's not here.
Oh, okay. It's not
on the. Should be like 12, 13, 14, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is helping out on the
there's something happening 12, 13, 14, and
we need to. We'll add it to the calendar afterwards.
Yep. And more important, and we had a Rust meetup next week. So that's that. And on Thursday,
that particular meetup, a lot of companies are speaking, and apparently you have free food, like hotel food. So you might come for the food as well. Depends. But of course, come stay for the talks. I think DG is speaking. I think they might be getting someone from Microsoft if they can find a speaker from. Or Microsoft was supposed to speak, but now they lost the speaker, so they're trying to see if they will replace the speaker or like get someone else. But it will be interesting on the 12th. So come and join.
Correct. So after all the interesting stuff, on 15, that's not the day of PyCon, by the way. 15 is DevKami night, and I'm trying to. I already secure one of the key Sabah, Kota Kinabalu, tech community member, and I try to get quite a number of them, and it'll be Sabah special. It'll be more like KK special, but
they were there in the last physical PyCon where I was around as well.
Correct.
Very interesting people with talks suggest that unfortunately were overshadowed by some of the other
Correct.
tracks company.
Correct.
But I was there in
So
their track. It's very interesting.
precisely. So I'll be there, and we will be interviewing them, and hopefully, I really mean them, and not just at home, only one person, so that we can showcase the tech community down there while I'm in Sabah. Provided that I don't forget to bring my stuff over, especially the mic. So with that said, that's
bring your
happening.
lapel mic so that it's clear.
Correct.
Because
I might even
otherwise it
bring
will
this
be
guy
difficult
over.
to- Which
So I
one?
might even bring this camera over.
A
So
webcam is fine, I think. The audio is the
Yeah.
important one.
yeah, my laptop is just a bit weird, but yeah, maybe there's multiple plan. Don't worry about that.
Mhm.
Then of course, final one is I'm just finished my PyCon. I mostly finished my PyCon talk. So about the tech community, how to run them. Preview. We are not doing a cult, and we're not doing MLM, despite how it looked. So with that said, that's all for the events and stuff. Let's start with sad news, interesting stories, and somewhat meh stories. So let's start with the first one. So Peter Kersley, which many do not know, he is actually a creator of Let's Encrypt and Certbot. And with this, thanks to him, HTTPS is really everywhere. Unfortunately, he passed away very suddenly a few days ago, 7 days, a few days ago. So yeah,
Reminder to us that is life is more than just work.
correct. And yeah, with this, thanks for his contribution. And yeah, so next one, I can't read Germany. I think I select the first one. So the first one, this next one is there's a mathematical rule behind the paper size. So B have a rule. A and B exist for a reason, which I forget to add in the link. What the hell am I thinking about?
Yeah, unless you're in the USA.
Yep.
Where you use
the
letter.
USA. Correct. So the A and B actually determined by ISO 216, and so A series format is A41.1 mm. So you got A0, A1, A4 is 210, and all that. And notice this is actually a Fibonacci series.
Yeah.
Was it Fibonacci? It looks Fibonacci.
It's very much it is.
It is. Correct. It looks like it.
But I thought you know about this.
More like a spiral. Not,
Yeah. That's the whole point of spiral.
Yeah.
I thought you knew about this.
I do. Also, everything had the same aspect ratio, which is the point actually.
If you keep folding it in half, then it's like the next.
It's the next one.
Correct.
So
A0 is the one size, half of A2 size, then split half again. So which is actually very smart. So this article shows that, and so one size, half of it is now A1, then half of it is 2, then it's actually a square root of 2. Then you go over, now you get a nice math pattern, which is very awesome. But maths is awesome. Okay, that's all I want to say. Anything you want to add on this? If not, I'm going to move on. I'm sorry, Thor, you don't like maths. Okay. By the way, it's not the golden ratio. It's a ratio, but it's not. It's a great ratio, but it's not the golden ratio. So I'm wrong. It's not. This is not a golden ratio, but it's a ratio nonetheless.
It's a square root of 2 ratio.
Correct. So yeah.
No, not even. Sorry, this is not the square root of 2 because it's not the square.
Yeah, it's half.
So
something. Correct. So I'm going to move on. So the United States government actually have been very serious about security in the application, not just their application, and not just application for their contractor. We're talking about they're already talking about things like supply chain all the way down. So as a result, they actually start producing all this information. Checklist program is one of those. So all these programs are actually trying to help organizations, mostly, even individual if you want to actually have security best practices for system that they run, from libraries to codes to this. So this one is mostly for system setting. National checklist defined by NIST. NIST here is the National Institute and Sign of Standards. And so they're the one that set up your IT. They're the one that actually set up the weights in the United States. In Malaysia, that will be Syrian. And one of the things they also do is IT standards when they can. So they're the one that actually decide about the standard advanced encryption standard, among others. So this is a document for it, and this is actually a library for defining stuff. So for example, they show like Apache HTTP server, then you can search for it. And this is a good thing because this is why you pay taxes, to be honest. This so that you can, the government have more resource to actually help you to do things. So when they can't police the internet directly or the old days, they can have advisories for you to do the right thing. So they provide this. This is not very good. Let me find a nice one. Choose. Give me a software as a target. Let me try to find one.
Elasticsearch.
Elasticsearch. Thank you.
MongoDB.
MongoDB. Okay, I can't find Elasticsearch, so I'm going to find the next thing. MongoDB. It might be so sucks that they decide not to support it. They still support it. Okay, let's take the latest one.
It's supported.
Interesting. So this enterprise, because they primarily deal with it's more primarily target their contractor, but you know, supply chain all the way down.
Be careful. Be careful.
I swear I'm not lying.
Can you still hear me? Am I still online?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, because we just had a power fluctuation. Like everything just got dark and then now it's up again.
I blame streaming for not being careful with what he's saying.
We got censored at this point. Suddenly, like, you're not supposed to mention this. Yeah, but it's good that I have a UPS.
Yep.
So everything is.
So this is actually for you to download. Let me see whether I can show the document. If I can't, then. So what they have here is essentially tools and checklists for you guys to do it. Let me see if I can open this in my browser. I can't open it in my browser. Oh, well, it's a zip file, contains PDFs actually. Contain PDFs and maybe toolkit for you to do the work. So yeah, there is rules. There is this that you can ask for, but it's in a bureaucratic language, so it exists lah. So I'm going to move on. This one is also interesting. C5 and also and in between also in RISC-V is going to be the go-to. Oh, interesting. Will be the go-to ecosystem for future space mission. What it means is that if NASA need, so they're going to provide the CPU for the next generation high-performance space flight computer. So this is a computer to use in space, right? In space to send to deep space missions, your Mars missions and all that, which is interesting and not very strange at all because consumer electronics are not often used on spaceships. There's only very few instances where the computer, the CPU is something that we're familiar with. Hubble Space Telescope uses a 386. That's a rare one. The Mars rover, for example, Curiosity. No, the Mars rover. It's the same. Perseverance. Perseverance is on ARM probably. Perseverance rover. Atlas 5. Let me see whether they got a computer on it. Computer, not instruments. No. Do they have a computer on it? Computer. It's a red-based 7 processor, which is actually a form of PowerPC CPU, right? So the space program are known to use this kind of processor. So this is not the strangest thing that people use in the space program lah. So instead of ARM, they actually use PowerPC, for example. And it's not even a new PowerPC, but it's there, right? So yeah, it's equivalent to the G3, which is very old type of processor. But this thing will survive the radiation in space, mostly. It's still bad. Radiation is still kill them, but yeah lah. So either way, what this means is that Sci5 will provide the RISC-V processor that will actually be used the same way as any space program. So, and most of you have already noticed that the CPU is so old. Yeah. So maybe this will bring something interesting lah.
It's not being,
and also
like because of the program, they often they took so long that when
correct.
it turns out it is like old. Actually, in
correct.
terms of JavaScript.
Yeah. No, it's like Artemis. Artemis has been scrubbed many times. There are many problems, and a lot of it is bureaucracy. It's not because, it's not really because of technicality. Because one of the things about the Artemis program, for example, is because they have to reuse the space shuttle component. That is like by rule, by the Congress, and job have to be secured because they kill off the space shuttle program. Right, the space shuttle program. Now you got manufacturing company that don't have jobs anymore. Unfortunately, as a bureaucracy increase, you had a job program, right? So now you remove the manufacturing. What next? I don't know. Nobody have a good answer for this. The traditional business way of thinking is not your problem, which is fine until then you realize that any company is supposed to serve the community, part of community as well. So things get a bit weird lah. So bureaucracy, yeah, is there, but sometimes it's not a bad thing, but sometimes it can be a nuisance. So I don't have a good answer whether this. I do not believe in a corporate only world. No. Okay, that's not so
what
loud.
you're talking about.
Swimming's talking about evil, and then you have a thunder.
Yeah. Watch out, guys.
Yes.
We're listening.
So, yeah. So, yeah. On the other hand, government bureaucracy is big. On the other hand, do you really want company to do this for you? I don't know. I don't have a good answer. So let's say this is an interesting development. This is a very interesting development. And also very good in development because the RISC-V is an open architecture. So it's not select based on a vendor. So in a way that supports something that's more open that can be applicable to more organization. And that's awesome stuff. So yeah, that's about it lah. And also what we won't cover is we will not cover what Apple released. It's a 4,000 ringgit phone. Or a watch, which is, I don't know, apparently the kill of the watch market. I do not know what that means.
Well, if you're looking at it as a dive computer, it's not bad. It's like along the mid-range, upper mid-range of dive computers.
Correct.
And you're not just getting a dive computer in that case, right? But of course, on upper mid-range, it can be deeper than 40. So these are like, this is not hobby diving anymore, because hobby diving usually is until 40 meters. But then if you go like even deeper, well, the watch is not rated for that depth.
Yes,
you need
but
diverse watch.
For dive computers that go will be below 40 would be around that price range. So it depends on what you want to get. But It might
Correct.
be an interesting one because one of the biggest hassles, I guess, well, I don't enjoy it, is like doing your dive logs because you have
Yeah.
to, well, if you want to do extra, like, because some courses, what they call it, some dive locations can only be done if you have had done like this number of dives before. Like you have to have
Right.
had 80 dives at 40 meters, let's say. And
Right.
those logs are like they come with, they get signed by the dive instructor or all of these things.
Yep.
So dive logs are automated because of course everything is automated on the
Mm-hmm.
Apple Watch. It's
Yeah.
programmable. It's just a closed ecosystem, as well most dive computers are. It's
If
just
Yep.
that, yeah, and
it's
dive,
it sounds
yeah.
troublesome, but it's actually for your own safety.
Mhm. Yeah, well, a
I
lot.
know people who dive illegally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
the, like, for example, you're supposed to do a refresher course if you haven't dived for a
yeah.
year. It's troublesome,
Correct.
but again, like a lot of the diving material that
Yep.
is being taught to you, 90% of that you're never gonna use because
Yes.
that's really for emergencies. Like, what happens if your primary hose like gets a cut?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you
Correct.
use your second hose, and what's the
Yep.
procedure to get your the yellow one? How do you
Yeah.
do like what they call this, body
Mm-hmm.
respiration? Like 90% of
Mm-hmm.
the time you're never going to use this because,
Yep.
but for the 10% of the time that there is an emergency, then you have to, then it's good that you actually know it, right? So it's the same thing with
Yep.
all of these, like the dive logs, etc. It's for your protection. It's for, like,
Correct.
it's like your airbags or your seat belts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you never really go into an accident, but when you get into an accident, you do it. But on the Apple Watch, so it's interesting that they're going to this segment,
Yep.
because you wouldn't think, because they're going, the Apple Watch is looked at as a luxury item, right? Like they have the
Yes.
Hermes line even, right?
Correct.
And it's a jewelry, but
Mm-hmm.
you would never expect like such kind of brand to also be on the rugged, like trekking, hiking, and even diving.
Yes.
Although it logically would follow that if you're making a watch, why not make it
Yeah.
like robust enough? But
Correct.
the marketing is just like quite interesting at this point.
Yes. So how it goes, I do not know. But I will be really sad if they manage to kill off the market, which almost never happened, by the way.
But they
Which
will.
almost,
I'm
I would say
expecting a
if
lot.
they manage to kill off the market, it's the market that failed to catch up.
Mm.
correct. So
Yes,
that's
so
that lah.
I would expect that because a lot of divers are rich people as well. Like they have the
Correct.
time and they have the
Yes.
luxury to go diving and go
Yes.
travel and like
Yes.
just dive, right? It's expensive to dive.
Yes.
And
Correct.
most likely these people are looking for a good dive computer to
Mhm.
splurge on, and then an Apple Watch is not just a dive computer; it's also an
Yeah.
Apple Watch, and yeah,
Yes.
it's a great audience for them, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that they finally got to this point.
Yes. So just see how it goes lah. I would rather this market to survive, to be honest, because I do
Which
not
market?
want. I would rather Apple not take over those markets because
It's
it
takeover
will be
if they can
difficult.
win the market. It's not really their
Yeah,
fault, I would say.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
so the
know.
dive. This is actually good news for people who don't want to have an Apple Watch. It's because dive
Yeah.
Yeah.
computers are going to
I've been
fall down in price because they have a very
Yes.
basic offering, and they're very expensive because the only way you can go down 40 meters and still have a functioning watch is to have a dive computer. And
I
now
had
you
to
have a
do
dive computer.
some
Yeah.
Uh
at
huh.
work. We had to do some this diverse watch or integration and things. Then uh we we got some watches to test out. Is that they are not for the price point they
Yeah.
have. I would say the Apple Watch
Yeah.
for that price point is gonna kill
Exactly. they just agreeing a cartel. It's like a cartel. They're agreeing to push
if they
prices.
kill off the
They don't
market,
have
it's
to.
the
Yeah.
company's fault. I would say
Yeah.
I wouldn't
And so now
actually.
we have a proper competition on the
Yeah.
dive watch,
Yes.
dive computer
Yes.
market, which is
But
good.
we should have new people comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because
I'm
we
sure
should
there
not
will
have.
be like Android people will say, okay,
Yeah.
Apple can do it, of course we can do it cheaper, and that would be interesting as well.
Wear OS is not so great for me.
Yeah, I know. So recently I got a watch.
Speaking of watches, right? Can this go 40 meters underwater?
No. Yes.
Can this go
Also,
at least like 2 meters under a pool?
Possible though. Apparently people did try swim with it. So let me find
the Apple
Swimming
Watch
is
is a
fine.
swim proof, they say. So you can actually go
H5.
swimming, even with just the Apple Watch SE, the cheapest. It's swim proof.
So because this guy is going, this is not the tough watch. There's a tougher one. This is the basic one because the pro version, quote unquote, is
I have this. This one can go 50.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper than Wear OS.
Yeah.
Mine
how
is
much
only
it lasts
JavaScript
3 to
watch.
4 days.
Oh, okay. So this one is IP68 and it can go for 5 ATM watch, which is water resistant up to 50 meters for 10 minutes.
50,
So,
50?
Yeah. Apparently, no, I don't.
But you can't do diving because it's only 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like you drop it, and then someone
most
just
of the
goes
divers
down
watch, they are not. I would say not really comfortable to wear.
Correct.
For those
so
that
either way,
you're not supposed to wear it like every day though. You wear it on top of your skin, your what they call this, the suit, the neoprene thing, your diving suit. So that's why it's like that. It's shaped like that.
It's not your day-to-day driver.
Correct. So also, a few things doesn't quite work here. So for example, it only cover the basic. It cover heart rate. It cover SPO. It's cover sweating, so stress. But it does not do blood pressure in Malaysia. I don't think NDA approved it yet. It does not do ECG again. NDA. Okay, do heart rate. So I do not know the difference between heart rate and ECG, but either way, I do not get ECG. I get heart rate, I think. And Google Assistant does not work on this watch, so which is a bit sucky. But everything else works well. Everything else works, and the sleep tracking works very well. So there's that law. So the only reason to get Wear OS is because this is a hackable device, in a way, because I can use the SDK and code for it. And that's the whole point. And the only other reason is because I'm using a Linux machine. So I want something that is programmable on a Linux machine. So so that's the main reason really. But that's a whole
to win, that is not that I would say that is not just the selling point. It has to be better. I would say it's not like Google is a small company.
I know it's not, but I'm not going to change all my computer just to accommodate one thing, right? So that's not acceptable to me, right? So that's the rules, right? So I know this is a very weird way to see things, and not everyone can. I know people want like one more thing, but
it's the moral in terms of freedom is, I would say, it's not a good selling point, I would say.
Yeah, it's not a good selling point to people, but it's important to me, right? That's the whole point. That is important to me, not other people. So I don't expect other people to do the same thing as me. So if I'm the last guy that really needs things, that I'm ready to do all on my own. So that being said, second thing that I want to talk about, this guy, Code Complete. This is almost a timeless book.
How large is that? How thick is that book? Can you
800 page.
How many?
800 plus page.
I have that one in my office desk.
Yeah, I already finished half of it. In my opinion, some of it is pretty timeless, I would say. Close enough. So I won't trust it for example, they have a lot of things that is very C++ specific, and also some of the dynamic language example they use is from VB6, Visual Basic, which is very outdated. right? Very outdated. But this is actually a very minor. It's a very minor thing, to be honest. So let me find a cool thing advice. Oh, actually, it's all the way in the front. All the way in the front. So here's the question: do you believe in bottom up design and top down design for your application?
It depends.
I don't know.
So they have 3 points here actually. It goes back to it depends, because it's a different way of doing things, right? They got 3 pillars. But so the problem with this book is cool in a way that top down tend to start simple, but the thing is your application do not need the lower level abstraction. They care about the application itself. But top down, the problem with top down is you defer the construction detail, and sometimes you miss things that you don't see along the way. So you don't have good way. So it's very different way of doing things. Often it's somewhere in the middle, and a lot of the middle thing detail is from your experience, right? Experience. So let me grab another one. Design. So what kind of coupling do you know? Code coupling.
Depends.
There are many.
Okay, so
I think we're gonna fail interviews.
No, you're not going to fail this because I did not know about this. I do not know about this until
your Tristan answer is that.
There are many.
So I do not know about this until
it's also something we cover often. Is that we reach a certain point where when we were asked for opinion, we sound like people that have no idea.
Yes. No. So I'm going to open. Let me open up my browser properly. Then I'm going to show Google Photos and make sure that I don't show you guys porn. Just kidding. I only have food porn, but it might take time to load though, which is actually a bit ridiculous. Give me a while. Okay, it's uploading. So what I like about this book is this book had very good high level advice. Even though if you look at people, if you think about this, like you not get the code level advice is not as useful as it's not really that useful because one, most of us are not C++ programmers, and more importantly, most of us are not Visual Basic programmers. So those things are not as useful. So okay, so the first one is called simple data parameter. So this is just parameter, nothing. Simple object coupling is just that an object that depends on an object that talk to each other. Then object parameter coupling. So this is object parameter coupling is. Let me get that again. Crap! I should not close the page. Coupling. Okay, here you are. Real world object. Okay, I try to get through here. So an object that create an object. So this is fine. So this one is object parameter coupling. So you pass an object to another. So an object require object 2, you pass into an object 3 and all that. So this is a bit more complicated. So this is called object parameter coupling. Then the next one is called semantic coupling. Semantic coupling is you have to understand, you have to know how the application works, and it's not described in the code. So, for example, a module 1 pass a control flag to 2, and 2 you know what to do with it. So it requires you to make an assumption what does module 1 does. So you actually have to know how things work, not through code, but through how you build things. So it requires institutional knowledge instead of reading it through code. Do you understand what I mean? So semantic coupling is a bad one. So if you have a code that
I know where you uploaded this picture. You took this picture.
Yeah, I know it's Batu Cave. Thank you. So now you can steal my book. So it goes deeper about why you should not do things, which is actually very cool, right? It's actually very cool as a result. So I'm going
Does
to show you.
Does it have anything to say about not writing your application in JavaScript?
No.
No.
It do have things like, no, it does not make opinion on programming language other than for this language that I know, do it this way. But even those are generally again general advice, but may not be 100% compatible, because something talk about casing, but Python function do not use casing, Python variable do not use casing, JavaScript use casing all the time, right? Camel casing for naming. So yeah lah. So that's the thing about it lah. You know what? Should I share my phone instead, because it's actually very hard to share a physical book. Physical book is very weird. So let me see if I can share through my phone. I got a feeling I have to. You'll get a bit dizzy. I take my chance. So this one is a bit expensive, by the way, but it's close to be timeless in advice so far, from what I understand.
Are you going to join the stream and then with your
yes,
phone?
I'm trying to find the thing. Open in browser. Stop cam, blah blah blah, mute myself, reader, enter studio. Okay, then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to close my other thing. Okay, how do I close my other thing? Let me close my video so they don't get dizzy. Okay, now you are here. Okay. Okay, so guidelines on variables, right? Variables, there will be assigned value. It varies variable, blah, blah. The value is the variable is outdated. So, okay, the problem with improvisation is the value never existed. It might be outdated. Part of the variable is assigned value, part is not. So the last one can be like function, a member of the object, and whatnot. So here's how you should handle your variable. Initialize each variable as you declare. So sometimes when you write a code, you can declare just like something and do nothing about it. So what they suggest is always initialize your variable. And
but isn't that what the Golang does by default?
Remember, these guys are using Visual Basic and C++, which actually allows it. So there is language that actually allows it. So for example, so here's a good one. So initialize a variable, then do the code. So initialize
code block. Also is for clarity as well sometimes.
Correct.
Initialization.
Because the reason is you do not want to jump back to top of the code to find your variables. You need to go back to it, and because each code had a logical block. So you want to read in a logical block. Because
that's one of the things that I find Python a bit disappointing is the scoping issue.
Correct. Yeah. So initialize, ideally define each variable close to where it's used. Ideally, not always, but you get the idea lah. Use final and cons when possible, because those so they don't change, which is why all your JavaScript code are always like cons and all that. Pay attention to counters and all that, because this is actually a bad idea. Using a counter is a bad idea. A global counter is a bad idea unless you really have tools. So you really just remember to don't use it everywhere. That's my rules lah. Then initialize member data in constructor. This is typical. That's how I do in Python. You don't have to do it in Python, but that's how I do it. check whether you need to reinitialize, right? Reinitialize, because sometimes you use my time, you may have to reset the value again. Initialize constants one and initialize variable. I do not know what this means. This may be very similar.
For code, like for language like Python, I think PHP also is that. I think PHP is phasing that out. Is that try to reduce dynamic assignment.
Correct.
Where
Also, I think swimming, if you go landscape, this will be like you can see more.
Yeah, but I do not know how to
You
set
have
landscape.
to turn your, but you have to turn off your, turn on your automatic action on your phone. Because right now we only have like a third of the screen.
Okay, let me. I do not know how to use my phone.
Yeah, now it's larger.
Okay. Only now I know how to use my phone. Give me a while. Okay, how do I? Okay, so use a compiler setting to automate initialize all variable. I do not know what this means.
Not related to us.
Yeah, not related. As I say, it's not always. Check input parameter for validity. Very typical. Then the memory access is only if you C and C++, not relevant nowadays. Again, memory not relevant nowadays. So
Relevant for still relevant memory access is that they are linked, and also I think these days a lot of this work standard analysis tools are pretty nice already. Not gonna eliminate all of them, but it's just using them will help out.
Although with some languages, like modern languages like Ruby, PHP, Python, or JavaScript, you can't really access memory directly because you're most likely running inside a VM for that language. This is more like using fillers, right? Like so that you can your feed just got cut off. Did you turn off your phone?
No, I turn off the camera so that we are discussing something else that's not relevant now, so that my phone moving around won't make people dizzy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's about changing memory access, because before you can see how your program behaves just by watching how memory changes, which is why like their recommendation to use a filler, because if this section is not supposed to be used up yet, then the memory location is not supposed to change, and then when you look at your memory dump, you can see that something has changed and something wrote, or maybe you did a bad pointer and then you change the wrong memory address, which is why you have a bug. But nowadays it's not as big of an issue because you don't have you're not supposed to have direct access to memory of the computer, or at least of the host computer.
Yes, there is some case you need it, but not an application nowadays, only when you have to build system code. So I'm going to skip assertion. If you have a good idea when to use assertion. In Python, use assertion in unit tests, but there is good reason to use assertion. Again, they will tell you why. As I say, this is a very general code, even though the assertion they use here is actually a C++ assertion or a Visual Basic assertion. So it's
a
not
lot of
relevant.
these have already been like incorporated in languages like Go. Like for example, if you have or like Rust, for example. Like I think there was, correct me if I'm wrong, Chilyong, like an enum which you never completely used, or was it an enum where you have you're supposed to use all of them, but you didn't use one of the branches, and so the compiler will alert
It's
you.
Rust.
Hey,
I think
it's
Rust? Only Rust. Yeah, not really in Go. Go doesn't care.
Yeah, so something like that is similar to this, where you assert that hey, all of them should be used.
They call it the exhaustive match.
Yep. So this is again another example, which is why I recommend this book, error handling technique. So how do you handle your thing? First, return a neutral value. So for certain thing, it's okay to use like default color and default background. But for X-ray device, probably you need to shut it down and do not use this at all.
This is why I don't get for certain people when they criticize Go is that when they return error as value.
Yeah. No, you need to return value error so that it shut things down.
I think the error as value is more clear than I don't know what exception I might need to capture.
Correct. So this one is from a stream of data. So if there's an error in this data, you just return the next one. So skip this one. So if there's a corrupted record, you simply just skip another one, which is fine most of the time. In let's say a time series data, and it comes in seconds anyway. No harm.
Know what is important, I would say, right?
Correct. Then this another one, which is also interesting. I never thought about it. Return the same answer as the previous time. So meaning there's time that it's okay. So for example, your data, your thermometer in this case, those things doesn't change much for the first place. Just put it in.
This is a method that we can use for a very costly operation where it can take time, but you don't want the caller to reduce to have their experience reduced. So while you're calculating it, it's actually okay to return them the closest approximate or closest valid answer.
Correct.
Even though it's a stale one.
Correct. So it's the same line mostly. So the next one is log error message, move on, standard stuff. We'll do it all the time. Return an error code. This is what Go does, and C++ do that as well with -1 and all that. Then there is a few more. Call error processing routine. We thought we'll do that. Surprisingly, not as common. Then display error message when error happen. We do it all the time. Then handle it whenever best locally and shut down, which is very important for embedded system and all that lah. Okay, this is the last one. Robustness and correctness.
It's not just for embedded system. Shutdown sequence is very important to do cleanups.
Correct. Precisely.
Or even like web
so I'm going to
things.
Correct. I'm going to off this one now. Essentially, what this. But I'm going to summarize this. Safety critical application favor correctness. So if there's wrong, you stop it. Consumer application tend to follow robustness. So you can have error, but they prefer things to keep running. So
I like the sample that you use for video games, because video games, the way how video games are made, they are very.
I'm going to stop.
They are very, what do you call it? They're gonna irks a lot of the purists around.
Correct.
The way how video games are made are very practical.
Correct. So, which is why video game actually had a lot of good idea.
It's like HTML. Like the browsers are very permissive in their handling of HTML.
Yeah,
correct. You have lots of errors in your HTML, but a browser will still attempt to try to display it.
Correct.
So it's very permissive.
Correct. Consumer electronic have to be like that. It's not always clear nowadays, so you have to decide what is safe. Cars, for example, have need to be a lot more safer, even though consumer expect things to run. So it's your Malaysia don't use thermostat, but thermostat is another one. Then also, what else? There's also, I think there's electronics, right?
Your
power
fridge.
control.
How about your fridge?
Yeah, correct.
Or your stove.
So,
well, your stove can be permissive in terms of its like temperature detection. You can play around with a particular range.
Yeah,
but
you can, once you reach they need to tone down. They need to tone down and all that. So consumer appliance and application need to be robust, meaning you need to continue working if you do something stupid. But your car, when it reach something, they need to stop immediately, for example, because that is dangerous. People will die.
I think one of the example gonna be like when you have a current fluctuation, you still have to make sure it works nicely.
Correct, but
if you need the super safe and accurate one, is that if you follow the what we call the golden path, is that it's not gonna work in most cases.
Correct, but a more practical one is your payment system, right? So let's say you need to consolidate your payment system. Yeah. Do you want your money to keep continue, or you want to stop processing money immediately? Just give a flag that you have to stop for business to consolidate your money. So which one do you choose?
I would say the purist mindset is very comfortable for especially a lot of beginners.
Correct. So
it's not to say not to do things properly. As much as possible, we want to do things properly, but there are cases that we have to cover.
Correct. there is no good answer. We just try our best to see what is important to the user right now. So, for example, again, I'm going to use the product I'm doing. We're doing data labeling. So we have a corrupt. We started for some reason we forget to validate one of our file, and we have a non-image coming in. What next? So the best solution is to move on. So that's the case, right? Because there's not much you can do anyway. Just move on, continue, and it'll be invisible to the user. You do not need to boom, something happened. We do not need to do anything. But either way, back to this book, highly recommend it. A bit expensive. This is like 229 ringgit. Get your boss to buy it instead.
I would say it's okay lah. The price is okay lah.
I will buy it. I'm willing to.
I bought a few back then, even more than 10 years ago. Some of my action scripts book are more expensive than this. 200 is okay. It's okay to spend on these things. It's like the book can last you for a long while.
Yeah, this book had this book had a reasonably long lifespan, I would say, because all the half of the book anyway, through half of the book, the program features are not implemented anyway, and the design is they discuss about how do you over design, do you under design, what is good design, right? They also think about your code, how your code should be. So ultimately, is that your code are to be used by another programmer. So are you making it easy to find things? Are you trying to be so architecturally correct, but your code is hard to read? So they cover this kind of thing. So, and that thing is timeless, to be honest. So, and which is why I recommend this book. Buy for yourself if you can, or beg for your boss to buy it.
It's not expensive for that price, I would say.
Correct. This thing would, unlike most of my programming book, this book, if I had this book in 2004 when I buy it in undergrad days, it's still applicable now. Imagine that this book is written in 2000, early 2004. Okay, this book is written in 2004. Second edition is written in 2004, and it's 18 years since then. And can you imagine how many things? And they did not edit it, so can you imagine that how long this book lasts?
You just spread it out by the cost that you pay. It's gonna increase the value.
Correct.
Gonna divide by the year, and it'll be much cheaper over the years.
Yeah, it's very cheap, to be honest, even compared to that.
And you don't. It's not like you. I mean, it's fine to pay for books. I mean, it's related to some of our peers in the community. Also, is that it's a money that is cost of doing business.
Correct, law.
So
not all my
authors need to eat as well.
Correct. So So either way, that's one book I would look into this. I don't have other book because Kinokuniya, interestingly, do not have other book. I'm actually looking at Pragmatic Programmers because a lot of these books are again considered timeless, maybe not as well known. So let me share a tab. Share screen. Can I share a tab? No, I can't share a tab. I can only share. Okay, I'm going to share.
You can share a window, just separate it out.
Yeah, I'm going to do the windows instead. Okay, so another timeless book is Pragmatic Programmer. This is many consider as a timeless book. Though there used to be the Mythical Man one used to be thought as timeless. It's not anymore.
What? It's still timeless. I still code it from time to time. As in, people still believe that adding more people to a project is gonna make it faster.
I know, yeah, it is true.
But it's still very timeless. It's not common sense.
Correct. Yeah. So, okay, maybe I get that in future, but
Yeah, see, no
so
silver bullet.
Yeah. So again, all these are again. Okay, fine. I will consider these are timeless. No, these are timeless. He is the one that set the principle, for fuck's sake. This book set the principles, okay? This book set all the principles for this.
And it's a fun book to read.
Yeah. So, yes.
It still happen. It's an organization.
correct.
The book actually is not really about coding, but it's about
It's
organization.
Well,
correct.
I
It
think we
might
mentioned that during one of our early episodes that programming is not really not about writing code. It's really about organization of the code that you're
Correct.
doing, of the concepts
Correct.
around, and making it
Yeah.
easier for you. It's for the human
Mhm.
being. Your programming is not programming the computer. It's for the human
and these
beings
books
that would be doing it.
can be, if you look away from just the software word, is that it's applicable
Yeah.
to most of the industry as well.
Correct. So, yep. Pragmatic. Okay, maybe I get this in the future, but my next book is Pragmatic Programmer. I'm trying to find other books
Peopleware
that
is
is
fine. Peopleware is not bad. Also,
really. Let me open up the
scroll
tab.
down the one Peopleware.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, Peopleware is there. Oh, it's updated. Oh, there's a third edition. Okay.
There's a
So,
book where they do the interview. Also not bad.
yep.
Coders at Work. Also not bad.
Yep. Coders at Work. Oh,
To
yeah, Coders at Work.
Yeah, it's to burst the bubble a bit. Like people has this romantic view of how people are how people
Yep.
work, how this big corp works. Is that
Yes.
the way they present the story is that is to demystify some of this romantic
Yes.
way we see. Coders
Correct.
at Work not bad.
Then what else? There is quite a number of books that I would think I do not have a good one. Any other book that you recommend again? Let me see
The
whether
design pattern book
Wikipedia.
is still not bad.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a bit
design
out to
pattern.
date, out of date, but design pattern not bad.
Yes, because a lot of it's designed for a different language, so when you try to apply it, it's a bit weird lah. Tell you what, this is the one. This is one of those books. Okay, before we end, I'm gonna show this lah.
So let's
I
see
think
how
this is the
many.
one. I'm a program.
This one is overrated. It's
Overrated.
Good to SICP is overrated.
Yes, this is good. This is
This
good.
one is
This
okay.
is good.
And most of the things are still pretty used commonly.
Yep. Pragmatic Programmer. I set on my
The
list.
Passionate
Looks
Programmer
good.
is also good. The
Okay.
Passionate Programmer. You can Google that one. It's I thought
Okay.
it was interesting.
Programmer. Okay. Let me go through the
Should be on
list, then
the
I'll go through
second
that.
edition.
Yep. Let me go through here. Code complete is what I showed you just now. Clean code, maybe I would take that. Apparently it looks good.
Personally, opinion wise, is that it's okay if you like it, but I'm not a fan of Uncle Bob.
Yeah. There are mythical amendments. Introduction algorithm, I do not know because there is a lot better algorithm.
Introduction to algorithm is, I would say they are thinner and better books these days.
Yeah, correct.
This one covers a lot, but unless you're into calculating complexity and things, very detailed nitty-gritty details of those, I don't think it.
Yes. So clean code, maybe actually a lot of people recommend it. It depends lah. So yeah, it tell this kind of thing. So maybe.
I don't like an authoritative way of telling you how things should be done. Is that
yes?
Some people might be taking them too seriously. So is that I don't like the tone. It's just personal opinion.
Hey,
yeah.
where
So
is it coming from?
My thing about books is you should able to argue against the book. Okay. You should able to argue against the book. So what do I mean by that? You should not how do I say it, listen to the book. What you should do is you should
develop your opinion.
No. Okay,
yeah, you should read it and say that this is bullshit. We don't do that
listen
nowadays.
to the book. Read it because the book is not going to say
rulings
anything.
like in RPGs, ruling, not rules.
So it's the same. Okay, so if you like audiobook, fine as well. But the point is, you need to argue against it. You need to. The point of reading this book is not to
No.
just absorb, but
Well,
willing to say that it's
yeah,
bullshit.
these
If you
these
know for
books
real.
are not for elementary students, because elementary,
Yes.
you just accept things as truth,
Yeah,
because that's
and also
I
not for
mean, you
juniors.
can't learn. Yeah.
I don't I actually don't I don't like I actually advise against reading any book that give advice when you started, unless
Correct.
you did enough. Then when you develop your own opinion enough, that it'll be really
Yeah,
good for you.
because those books are from a particular viewpoint,
Yeah.
Yes.
and they don't consider your own circumstances. It's different if the advice comes from
They
a
require
mentor.
certain maturity of mentality as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
it's
also
different if the advice comes from a mentor who knows what you've been going through. Then yes, that
correct.
advice might be more applicable because they would
Correct.
know what you've been through. But
Yep.
books are very impersonal. They
And things
wouldn't know.
like things like design patterns and things like is that unless you wrote enough code that you face the pain of having to maintain code, you wouldn't appreciate some of these tips and tricks.
So those design
Correct.
patterns, some people do it the other way around. Like, I have a problem, which design pattern should I use to solve it? It's actually the other way around. Uh, like I see that this can be solved by a
Can be improved,
this
like more like
this particular pattern. Sorry, this particular problem kind of matches a pattern I've seen before, and then I
some
need to
people. I
solidify
think
it.
I met quite some that especially the least experienced one, where they try to start a project based on to decide which design pattern to start. Oh, I should start this project with
No.
this first.
No. Yeah.
No,
Don't do that.
it's the
And
other
more
way around.
importantly, yeah, and also don't overdo your architecture either, because you're very likely even things is
It,
architecturally
whatever
correct.
you're optimizing for might not fit what is
Correct. So there's so many
really
problems. For example, a problem might be outdated. You work in a startup, for fuck's sake. Okay, this is how we demonetize ourselves. But you work in a startup, you may pivot for the next month. Okay, we may pivot for the next month, and suddenly your thing is worthless now. Damn. Then how about this? You overdo architecture. You have to scroll through 5 files to find one thing. People have to find 5 files because you do not explain your things to them, because it's architecturally correct but painful to read. And that's another one. So you don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to be dogmatic. That's the point. So back to SSH point, books are pain in the ass to moving through. Here's the worst part. You're not just supposed to read it. What I'm telling you just now, you have to analyze and argue against a book. Yeah, it's a bit more painful. I'm so sorry, man.
And
I'm so sorry. Yes.
And lend it to other people.
Yeah.
By the way, it's going to come back.
Actually, I'm setting up a book library for people.
Once you lend it, it's very seldom that you can see it again.
Yes. So yeah, and that's about it for books.
It's a way to dispose and to help other people.
Correct. So by the way, Code Complete, recommend it. I will use money to buy some of these so-called timeless book. Though I very likely won't get. I will get the art of computer programming just to scare juniors, but it won't be something I read.
It's really expensive, I would say. It look good. It's something that look good on the bookshelf.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, but I might get things like Pragmatic Programmer and Clean Code, and let's see how it goes, lor. So with that said, next week will be Sabah. I'll be in Sabah on the beach with C, and more importantly, the Sabah tech community. So look forward to that. So with that said, shall we say goodbye then?
I see you again next week.
Yes. So with that said, yeah, and we should end broadcast. End broadcast. So thanks for listening. Bye.